All right, we are being live streamed in a
We're
few
live now?
minutes.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy.
Yes, go live. Yes. So,
Are we?
so people are just starting to. There we go. April's here.
Hi, April. Hi, Mike.
All right. So we're just doing a little bit of admin.
Okay.
Kay is here and
Hello, Kay.
Ari's here, Stefano.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
More and more people. Hey, Will, while we get started with YouTube Live on a recent circumstance with the hurricane that came through Florida and didn't hit my area as much, but it was so significant after the next day. The energy was like so peaceful. Can you comment on what happens? Like, is mass consciousness thought forms just like get wiped away and start over? What happens then?
That's one part of it. The other part, like the whole Hurricane Ian and, all the other ones and all that fun stuff, what really goes on, as you hear me talk about quite frequently, planetary changes, consciousness shifts and changes where, the astral planes as well as the weather patterns as consciousness is rising, everything's in a state of flux. It's all changing. It's all the mass collective densities are being cleared out, purged, and purified. So what was going on, it's kind of interesting, it's going through a huge flush through, purification, divination. And from all of the heavier energies, all of the stagnated energies. So it's affecting the weather patterns that's coming through, clearing out all the quite literal debris, all the stuck consciousness, all the watch, rinse, repeat. And then what happens is it's playing with the planetary grid, it's playing with everything from the ozone levels through the astral planes and the mass collective thought forms. So what happens? It comes through, it runs through as a purifier and a purification, like in California, Arizona, and Montana, Idaho, whatever, all these, they run through the earthquakes, they run through the fires, and those are different levels of purification. So what happens when all of it's said and done? Number one, the mass collective thought particles and thought forms are being cleared and purified. And then what's happening? Dear ones are in a state, some go into shock, some go into this, that, and the other, but in all reality, with all the toys gone, with anything and everything for yourself personally that's been holding you in a cyclical cycle, well, is being purified and divinitized to where now it's not like you have to go through loss and chaos and trauma dramas and all that, but it has to do, and these things hit sinkholes, fires, hurricanes, tornadoes, blah, 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 where areas are the densest. And the beautiful part is the day after, it's like everything is somewhat open, cleared, purified, and ironically, perceivably at a standstill. Now, what's happening is dear one's tunnel vision focal points are now becoming more and more expansive, because now it's no longer about the toys, no longer about the 9 to 5s, no longer about worry, fear, bank accounts, getting a scratch on your car or whatever. It's kind of interesting, the day after, where it's kind of hard to have an ego when all this stuff that you've bought into, all this stuff that you've been tunnel vision with, identified with, as if your home is you, your job is you, your toys, your car, vehicles, boats, whatever, all these things that you built up all these identifications with and through. It's so interesting to watch how it's all coming up, it's all coming out, it's also coming up into clarification, purification, divination, to where now we're beyond panic, fight and flight, on and on and on, to where now we're in this state and we have no option within ourselves to be totally and completely present, because 9 out of 10 dear ones even lost their clocks, alarm clocks, and computers, whatever it may be, to where now you're in a state of in-between realms. So you're opening up, you're connecting your higher levels and your manifest levels, your creator levels, your entourage is all around you. It's so interesting where, for many, if that's what it takes, so be it. So it's not like poor Florida, poor Carolinas and all that fun stuff. It's just the densities being cleared out to where you can now wake up, open up, and now start to come back to yourself, your real self. It's not a punishment. I can promise you, everyone in all these areas, California, Florida, the Carolinas, up and down the East Coast, West Coast, and everything in between, everyone's been given their wake-up calls. It's kind of like the website. Okay, at first they're kind of gentle, and then maybe a little bit more of a nudge, and then maybe a little bit more of a nudge, and they become more, let's just say, a little bit more intense. But you got to remember, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Because from here, this is the rest of yourself. See, remember why we're here. Remember what we're doing. Remember, we're here to wake up, get our own attention, on and on. No longer to get swallowed up, no longer to, be surrounded by all this stuff that you've decided is who you are, rather than this is who you are and how blessed we are to be able to enjoy all this stuff. But we're able to enjoy it without getting so angst, without getting so tunnel vision, as if this is all there is and that's perceivable reality. Now, yeah, a lot of dear ones without power or without blah, blah, blah. The part that's so beautiful about this is to watch how, especially now, dear ones they're starting to actually look up and acknowledge one another. The egos are out the window because there's nothing to support it. Now, dear ones have their issues, don't get me incorrect, through the ego, but the main dark cloud of the ego that's been running your life is now been unveiled. And now we step into things that for themselves actually more and more feel healthy, whole, and complete within themselves, as they're going more and more direct within themselves. And then your brothers all over the place, it's one of those things where, oddly enough, their hearts start to open. Oddly enough, communities come together. Oddly enough, now we're on the same team and you're not out on your own ego personal island anymore. Now, yeah, this could be done a lot easier and a lot more fluid, but it really comes to, okay, within yourself and through yourself, what voice are you listening to? What voice are you entertaining within and through yourself?
Thank you. That's awesome. And we had we're welcoming any and all people to type in any questions they'd like to ask William right now. And we have a question that was typed in advance.
Okay.
Dear William, in the latest explorations event, you shared about the pineal and pituitary gland. Could you assist with fully expressing through the pineal, pituitary, and hypothalamus glands? I notice that when I'm not fully coming through these glands, I feel foggy and scattered. Thank you.
Okay, so right now, let's skip all those glands. Let's go right to your heart. Because going to your heart, that's where the true party is. The rest is party favors, on and on and on. So right now, let's just bring your consciousness through the heart. If you want, close your eyes, focus your eyes towards your third eye. I would encourage you to put both of your hands on your heart, because it is the centralized vortex. So right now, let's just bring our consciousness right into the heart. Let's ask it to open front, middle, and back. Let's ask it also to start feeding the vertebrae column, the central nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and the central nervous system, letting it start to open up and down the whole vertebrae column, all the way up from the thoracic vertebrae through the cervical, through the atlas axis, all the way into the back of the brain, in the base of the brain, going all the way through the sphenoid shelf, all the way from the back of the brain to the midbrain and the frontal lobe of the brain, all the way down through the lumbar vertebrae and the sacrum, all the way through the root chakra vortex, going all the way down through the buttocks, your upper legs, your lower legs, into your feet, coming also around the front to where it's coming up through the gender principle, pelvic girdle, all the way up through your crater chakra vortex, all the way through the solar plexus, front, middle, and back, crater chakra vortex, front, middle, and back, bringing right back up through the heart, front, middle, and back, all the way through the sternum, all the way through the throat chakra vortex, once again, front, middle, and back, all the way up through the jaw, the chin, the mandible, all the way up through the upper jaw, all the way up through the sinuses. Now, all the way up through the frontal lobe of the brain, into within and through the pineal and pituitary glands, letting the front of the third eye open up, going all the way through the midbrain and the back of the brain, through the back of the third eye, because it's a chakra vortex that goes all the way through the top of your head, through the crown chakra vortex. Now, let's go right in once again into the pineal and pituitary. Let's ask it to wake up, open up. Now, you're saying you're becoming foggy. Now, I want to break that down. What's creating the fogginess is not the third eye. It's not the pineal and pituitary gland. It's not the hypothalamus. And, it's not any of these other glands in the brain. What's creating the fogginess is the clutter in your heart. I watch so many get so worked up about having their third eye open on or not, but it's kind of missing the whole point. The third eye works like this. It's a gland of remembering. It's a gland, ideally, of non-judgment, because you're going to be presented with more and more, let's just call it insights, clarities, more and more receptivity, psychicisms, and all these party favors when your heart is open and when you have no judgment, all the way through the amygdala, all the way through all the levels of creator incarnate, but also creating the manifest levels, on and on and on. You see, everything always starts with the heart and the heart opening up, moving down through the solar plexus, up through the throat chakra vortex, down actually through the sternum, where the B and the T cells are. And the B and the T cells, when your body perceivably comes of age, those start to shut down. They're part of the energy engine of the body that keeps the body growing, growing, growing. And then you reach the whole metaphoric top of the mountain, blah, blah, blah. And then when we tap there, or we start to reconnect with it, or we just start to ask the body to start waking up the B and the T cell count. When we start getting into the energy engine of the body, now many get into tapping their sternum, or, Tarzan, whatever it may be, and it could be Jane, who knows. But from here, where, well, that's what it is. Jane, like, I'm woman, hear me roar, all that fun stuff. It's right now. And then it goes down through your heart level, goes down from the solar plexus, through the creator chakra vortex, and all the way through the root, down through your upper legs, your lower legs, into the feet. But then it brings all of your lower levels back up through the heart, purified, divinitized, clarified, and radiantly open and amplified as well, of course, bringing down the crown chakra vortex, bringing down the third eye, the master cell of consciousness, the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and pineal pituitary glands. And where now the third eye starts opening wider and wider, more and more and more, to where you're open for insights. You start to receive more and more knowingness beyond intuition. Intuition is a great thing to a certain degree, but I want to make it very clear right now. You outgrow intuition and you start going into more and more of your knowingness. And more of your knowingness, we're opening up, speeding up, iridescently radiating. Because to simplify this whole answer right now, the more that you focus on love is light, light is love is God, God is love, they're all just fancy terminologies. But the more that you focus on your light beingness right there in your heart, watch how quick all of yourself comes online. Now, the fogginess, I want to be point blank. It's all that clutter, all the old, I call them memories for the sake of understanding. But if I'm going to break down memory, it's not about past and present, childhood and womb, incarnational. No, it's parts of yourself that are still living through those experiences that haven't quite been matured up to current age, kind of like fear. Fear is something, it's a blanket phrase, just like anger. Anger is not an emotion, it's a conglomerate of emotions that have all been built up until you have an anger outburst, or whatever we want to call it. It's guilt, it's resentment, it's overburden, but all of it comes back to something so simple called judgment. But now we go into fear of this, fear of that, what if this, what if that, and fear only exists one place. And fear, to break it down, the most simplistic breakdown and the most direct breakdown of fear has absolutely everything to do with misinterpretations that you've seen, that you witnessed, you assumed, and now the sirens go off, and it's called fear. So when anything occurs in your life that even remotely represents something going awry, or something maybe you're out of control of, maybe it's something you're holding on with all of your might to judge, well, what happens is the sirens go on, called fear, and go through the subpsyche, goes through the emotional calibration lattice work, and it's all it is all of these emotional age of capacities that you've made these big giant decisions about you, about the world, about where you belong or don't belong, about being loved, loving, and lovable or not. And then you go into trying to avoid anything that represents that due to the intensity of the pain or the perception of pain that has played out. So now let's ask that all of our fears be brought into clarity, no longer misinterpretations. It's kind of like, don't go in the street, says your mom and dad, and they're running after you, playing savior, or, I don't know, Wonder Woman and Aquaman or whatever, to save you from the giant buses in the street and the cars. Now, what do you suppose you literally ingrained in that moment about being in the street? What did you ingrain in your body in that moment that started saying, okay, there's something wrong with me. Okay, I'm not safe. Okay, I got to be paranoid. Okay, I have to watch all the angles. I got to make sure that blah, 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 blah doesn't happen. And you took on all that because they're yelling, screaming, and running after you, which is like a big thrust of emotion that you took in, hook, line, and sinker. And I mean, to boot, beyond all that, they probably took you out of the street, whacked you a couple of times, and told you to go to your room. Now, that's just icing on the cake. And now we're saying, okay, well, and they're saying, I'm doing this because I love you. So let me figure this out. Okay, love now equals pain. So mom and dad quit loving me. So it's so interesting how deep it goes. And then now you're awakened being and you're saying, okay, things should be like this, which, it's funner than what it used to be by default. But now how should things be? Should there not be a bear walking down your cul-de-sac or your street? Should there not be a lion, a tiger, or wolves or coyotes, whatever? How do you perceive things should be? Many strive that everything has to be peaceful. Now, that's kind of a trick in itself, because the whole deal about peace has nothing to do with your outside world. It has to do with how much can you integrate, amplify, be in that resonance to where now none of the outside world affects you. It's not about situations and circumstances with others. It's about how you respond. And now, do we focus more on the heart? Yeah, this is what it looks like. It goes from the crown through the midbrain, all the way through the frontal lobe of the brain, back to the brain, through the third eye, front and back, the pineal pituitary gland, the amygdala, and hypothalamus glands, and all the way technically through the thyroid as well. And then it comes all the way down through the throat, front, middle, and back, all the way up and down your vertebrae column, the heart, the solar plexus, the cranial vortex, the root chakra vortex, the sacrum, the coccyx, and the root chakra vortex, all the way down to your feet and coming back up. And now let's all just take a breath for a moment. And here, I would have you come back to your central vortex of your body, which is the heart. Many are saying, okay, I'm going to go to my 12th chakra, blah, blah, blah. Well, hey, if that's what works for you, more power to you. Now, I would say right now we're basically going beyond all of it just by anchoring in and connecting with your heart level. Now, does this mean there's going to be butterflies and daisies, milk and honey and all that? Absolutely not. Now we're coming back to you, to where now you can make decisions based in solidification, integration, not out of emotion, conscious, subconscious, or emotional calibration. That's work that's been holding you prisoner. It's kind of like you have a comfort zone, and these days, every couple of weeks is going to change because you outgrow it.
Right.
And that says you're expanding and expanding. What was that, Michael?
We have a few questions and I wanted to get to as many as we can.
Awesome.
William, what is the difference between intuition and knowing?
Intuition, it's something that you're looking at a situation. Maybe you're in the situation physically. You stop, you take a breath. Many call it aha moments, turning on the light bulb, whatever it is. And many are building the courage of being able to address it, honor it, and express. But you see, intuition is like in that moment, whatever the circumstance may be, you show up in that moment, in that circumstance. You get a message, and a message, it could be a thought, it could be a picture that comes to mind. And from here, you see it, you address it, and then you perceivably act accordingly for your highest and best good, and still emanating and dancing. But I want to be clear, intuition is still stuck in your mind. It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. But it's all a mental thing. You're projecting into the future. The data and information is coming back right back through your third eye. Kind of like we are communicating with the animal kingdom, all of it's through the third eye. You're sending messages, bringing messages back. But then from here, when we get into your knowingness, now it's not, it goes well beyond situations and circumstances. Because situation, circumstance, and intuition, that still has a lot to do with action and reaction. Then we go into you, right into your heart level, welcoming in the rest of yourself. And I want to be clear, you are your higher levels. It's just a part of you vibrating at a much higher frequency than now you're bringing into within and through your physical package. Now, as we go into the heart for a moment, front, middle, and back, even through the actual organ, the right and left ventricles, and atriums, and the pericardium, on and on and on. Let's just be right here for a moment. Let's even connect from the heart to the sun, back down through the heart, or to the sun, beyond the sun, to the central sun intelligence, and on and on. But now bring in that stream of light, that stream of consciousness right back into your heart. Now, knowing this, it's a full body mechanism. It doesn't come from the mind, doesn't come from any filtering whatsoever. It's coming from that sense that, okay, now it's not a belief, now it's not a happy idea that I'm creator incarnate. We start to look and start to be presented with more and more. And what's kind of fun about it, we're even presented with future events. And the way that works is it goes well beyond intuition. So it looks like this. Here we are, right here in our heart level. For some, put your hands there. For others, maybe you're more connected. For others, maybe you're more integrated to where, you know, you're always, for the most part, connecting with your heart. And it has nothing to do with doing nice things on or not. It has to do with your agreement with yourself to be of the highest of integrity, purity, divination, radiance, and omnipotence, and then being fully embodied. Now, as we connect like this, now let's open our eyes, let's look around the exponential world. And this is where we say, all right, big guns, you know, show me what today looks like, or show me what tomorrow looks like. Show me what is going on and what is going on within myself, through myself, but also in my outside world a month from now. Now, the part I love about this, there's times where you'd be presented with all these different streams, one going way out here, one going way out there, and one going direct. Now, it's cool because now we have the great connection with ourself, our creator source, consciousness, and on to where now, you know, we're presented with what's going on, how it's going on, what's coming forth, not to live there. But now you as creator, we look at all these three different pathways, and then we look at the going direct one. Now this right here, we're saying, thank you, bring it on, let's go. So that takes this side and that side down. Okay, now we have a direct connect. Or, all right, you know what? I see that presenting. So, you know what, family or entourage, higher levels, creator consciousness that I am, show me what it looks like inside that open door. If I was to show up to that open door, that opportunity, and show me what it looks like on the other side. Cool. So that starts to unveil for you, to show you going through that door, what's behind the door. Then, or, you know, well, show me what this one is. And you're going to be presented with all the data and information if you take that right turn, or if you take that left turn. And now we're playing with basically, you know, conscious alters matter, but also we're playing with how to master your own consciousness and what's available for you. So this over here may mean, okay, we're going to go here. We're still going to get way over here to the top, but okay, this is a little bit more of the scenic route. Okay, it's this one over here. I'm going to go to this, to do that, and then I'll come back full circle eventually. Or we can go direct, minus all the, I'll call it all the pain and the torment. Now, I kind of chuckle at it because I remember sitting at Starbucks when, you know, before I was invited to go to Las Vegas, and then the opportunity came in, I was doing a volunteer work, like volunteer chair massage at Bath and Body Works, and for their new product line. And I was like, all right, family, what a great opportunity. Now I have to be clear. It didn't present as my beloved angel in the shower, or none of that was presented here. It was presented with, okay, Will, we know you're ready to start doing speaking events. We're steering you into this direction so that you can share, express, emanate, and amplify, and to become more available, more direct, rather with more of a group level rather than all the one-on-ones I was doing. Now, like massage, and that company was High Integrity Massage that I had created, that I was once again shared with, okay, now it's time to start doing alcohol massage and hot rock and on and on, and energy work. And then, so I sat back and I said, you know what, family, I can choose not to choose, or I can just show up and let everything unveil around. And how blessed I am that I showed up, having no idea what to talk about, having no idea even what a speaking event was, just knowing that once I sat in that chair, things were going to happen. Now, the mind's over here saying, well, Will, you work so hard. Well, Will, you got a full schedule. Well, Will, you have repeat, blah, blah, blah. Dear ones coming, and or that you're going to their places. It made no logical sense. It was taking a leap, as I'm assisting you two, to take a leap into the whole universe, or shall I say, taking a leap into all of you. So I went to Las Vegas. I did a few one-on-ones, then I did a speaking event, and of course, obviously, my angel was in the front row. But the point isn't about my angel in the front row. My point was common logical sense as well. Will, how are you going to pay for your car and your bills? And I said, you know what? That's not my duty or responsibility. That belongs to the universe. My agreement is to walk through the open doors, not to psychoanalyze them, not to try to figure them out, not to try to make them something that they're not, but to show up. All right, Mr. Michael?
All right, well, one more quick question.
Bring it on, buddy. Hey, I thought that was quick.
Yep. I'm just asking another quick question.
Oh,
the answer was quick. Can you talk about surrendering? How do you know if you really let go of your ego's control?
Number one, which I love this question because many get confused, especially self-empowerment's important. You start to wake up and realize you actually have a say-so in your life and over your life. Then you reach a point where you've woken up from that and you started waking up to, unfortunately, it can lead to putting walls up, the self-empowerment thing and all that fun stuff. But then you of course, like I was saying earlier, you outgrow the self-empowerment. You just are that power of light, power of love in which you are, not over others, but it's your heart opening and integrating. And then you go into your mastery levels of mastering not others, not the mind, but mastering how much love you can emanate in every single circumstance and situation. Now, that's where we get into what I would call, if I'm going to use the word power, I would say that the heart is all power. It's your pathway home. Now, when we look at all these different situations, circumstances, then we look at, okay, you know what? The house just blew up, the car just blew up, the bank just got robbed, and blah, 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 where we can sit back for a moment, take a breath, or we got let go of a job, or we had a death of a job, a death of a relationship, on and on, where right now we just take a breath. And where we can accept within ourselves. My higher levels are in command, not an outside deity. I want to be very, very clear here. The rest of yourself is what I'm referring to. And now, whoever it is, maybe it's Lucille, maybe it's Bobby from the Brady Bunch shows up and says, well, you're blah, 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 blah. And then she shows up, you're blah, blah, blah. How dare you, blah, blah, because you're not being what I think you should be when I think you should be it. So therefore, there's something wrong with you. And where we just take a breath, have a somewhat of a smile. And from there, where it does become more like a chuckle, because you start really realizing you need not defend anything. You need not offend anything. Where you do not skip a beat because someone else has issues. We're not pointing fingers. We're not playing blame games. It is what it is. If you have a reaction, great. Now you sit back with yourself and you check yourself out, explore. What have I given enough power to within my life stream to create this reaction within myself? Then you look at the dear one, you say, thank you for showing me that I have a reaction so I could do something about it now. Let it go, be done with it. And then we welcome back in more and more of yourself. Just speak to your stereo you and journey you to fully incarnate within you, because you're literally just marrying the whole universe, your source consciousness, but once again, the rest of yourself. To where from here, when I don't want anyone to get misled with this, because it's like, it doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care very in-depthly through your heart of compassion. You're not getting caught up in words. You get to a point where it's more about the energy, because the energy part, I could be sitting there, and I have, letting someone yell and scream, judge me upside down, blah, blah, blah. I just sit there and smile, because I know none of it's true. But where there's not that urge, like through the solar plexus of survival, to go into defending myself. Because once I go into defending, once I go into justification, in all true reality, they have me by the short hairs and all this fun stuff that's saying, okay, well, now, since I got all that energy from you, now you have to blah, 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 blah. And I've heard a terminology years ago. It was that giving your power away is dangerous. Now, I don't mean it like giving your power away, life and death, blah, blah, blah. When I say dangerous, it's not about fear. It's about when you start to give your power away like that, you start to internalize. You start to now give responsibility to anyone and everyone else to tell you who you are and, of course, who you're not. And it's like going back into an egoic mental emotional prison. Now, out of love for you, I say, of course you deserve more than that. You deserve better than that. But it doesn't make the other do one wrong. They're just running around in their solar plexus trying to create a following, whatever it may be, in all of their agendas, so that they can one day, hopefully someday, feel important. But of course, that's going to collapse. And now we're going to come right back through the heart, the journey from the solar plexus through the heart, to where now they can feel their own uniqueness and how truly priceless they are, more than important. Reminds me of our event tomorrow night about worthiness and all this other stuff, you know, and superseding and overcoming it, to where you're beyond worthy. Because where there's worthiness, there's unworthiness. And now you're stuck in polarity all over again. And then those two crack open, and here you come. Isn't that fun?
It's amazing, William. You're amazing. Thank you. That was really a small dose of raising up our consciousness in that.
And you are amazing too, my good friend.
Really appreciate that. And thank everyone for joining us. And if anyone has any questions, they always can email contact@williamlinville.com and we'll get back to them.
And we look forward to connecting with you soon. Namaste. We love you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Namaste. All right.
There's my tube and your YouTube.